Don't pretend you're no good, 'cause I can see your sunshine dripping out your sleeves onto my lifeline. Oh, good, though you didn't mean to leave a trail for me, but you didn't know I'm Trevor. It is. It's alright with me. If it's alright with you, then I could be whatever it is that you need me to, my love. 'Cause you're golden. 'Cause you're golden. Let me shine like one would be if they hadn't been love right. Sleeping all the time, I know why you stay inside. Safer to save your life. Whatever it is, it's alright with me. If it's alright with you, then I could be whatever it is that you need me to, my love. 'Cause you're golden. 'Cause you're golden. Golden boy. 'Cause you're golden. Golden boy. It's okay if you want me. 'Cause you're golden.
We are live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, beautiful people.
Hello.
As you know, since you clicked on the link or you got to us, we are the Average Jays. As always, I'm Jay Justin Ruiz.
And I'm Jay, Jeremy Francois.
We are back at it again on today, August 8th, with another episode. And we have a couple of different things to break down, but first things first, for all the Twitch streamers, whoever's joining us live on twitch.tv/ the Average Jays, we will be announcing the winner of the raffle from Tampa Bay Comic Con today
Yeah,
after the episode. So during our After Dark, just stick around, and that'll be the first thing that we do at the top of our After Dark segment. And yeah, we'll do the drawing live on air, and then like we had mentioned over the weekend during Tampa Bay Comic Con, that we will contact and do the whole video on Instagram as well. But
yeah.
for all those watching live, that's the thing that we're going to cover first in our After Dark. But before we get into that, we have to go through our docket for the week. So, first things first, we have some more news from the actors and writers strike. Jay, go ahead and take that one.
Yeah, so some flagrant nonsense from WB. Flagrant. Yes, I use that word. We're gonna learn some stuff today. So I just want to give you the title of this. You've seen it around on the interwebs. Warner Brothers Discovery claims that Hollywood strike saved them over $100 million. That doesn't make sense to me, and I think it's either this is like my thought. This is my initial thoughts. The only reason you're saving money is because you're not paying anyone. That's like my initial thought. And then it's also like you scrapped a lot of things before then. So this just seems like a lie just to say, yeah, we're saving money because we're not paying people. But it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
And that's what
What
I
do you
was
think?
just I was that's what I was just going to say, like they're saving money by not having to pay for projects and people, but like they're not making money. Like I'm sure they're not, at $0, but like their bank account I'm sure still has money in it, but like they're not making extra income, you know?
Yeah, so basically, where I'm pulling this information from, and I'm just going to read you some excerpts here from Comic Book Resources. And then they have like nice little nuggets here. So basically, I know you and I would think this way, and I'm sure many intelligent people, people that read,
Our avid
uh,
listeners.
avid listeners. So basically, WB Discovery executive claims that they're saving all this money, but the strike may impact the timing and performance of future film releases. That's a no-brainer. Like we know this is going to affect them in the future. They're gonna bleed money if this continues on for, I would say months, not weeks, because weeks. I would say months. If this continues on, this will make them bleed.
Oh yeah.
Um, I forget where I was listening to this. Either it was Good Morning America, or I forget what news outlet I heard this from. But it's like, whoops, sorry about that, guys. I forgot to put "Do Not Disturb." Uh, do not disturb me, computer. Um, yeah, because if we keep, well, I say we, but in my heart, I feel like I'm part of the union. If the strike keeps going, and they, I just feel this, it's just one big game of chicken, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Especially on the side of the money makers, the big head honchos, because they're here trying to they're trying to, like, what's the word, wait out the
Hmm.
writers and the actors. But it's like, bro, if you don't do what you need to do and do what's right for, do what's right, you're gonna come out with horrible TV shows.
Oh yeah.
And then, you know it unfortunate, pandemic was a bittersweet thing for many people. Because of that, we lost, like when I look at Marvel specifically, they were on time with our timeline, minus the spoilers if you haven't seen Endgame. There's a 5 year gap, but there's supposed to be some they were always on point, but now it's being pushed. So with this added on it, it's like, how do you combat that? How do you scramble around?
Mm-hmm.
Because all we're gonna get is with the trailer with Loki. We got the Loki trailer, and it's like, okay, that's done. We're still on the strike, and then it's like, how do we get our next Marvel fix?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, we're not we. I say we. I keep saying we, but the big head honchos are gonna be in trouble if they don't do what's right. So here, this throwing this, oh, we're saving money aspect is kind of dumb to me, because that doesn't say anything. You're just, what is it when you're flailing? You're flailing in the waters.
Yeah, yeah.
I've always forget. Yeah, it's just, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, it's just them trying to make it seem like they're okay, when in reality, everyone knows that eventually they will not be okay. Like, they can be okay for now, right? Like I said, they might not be hemorrhaging a lot of money, just because they are a big studio, they have streaming services, they have other projects that I'm sure are bringing in money for now. But once they hit that gap where literally nothing's in the pipeline, they're gonna be bleeding. Like, yeah, you're not wasting money, I guess, but you're also not getting, like, you're gonna hit a point where you're not getting what you're used to. And funny thing that you put Marvel in the discussion too. It's not on the docket, but I guess I'll give it an honorable mention. There is I think 5 or 6 animators, like CGI artists, have started a union. Have started, it's in its infancy right now, so there's not a lot of information on it, but they started a union against Marvel so that they could, I think they were visual effects artists, so that they can get better working conditions, because as we know, and it's been in the news multiple times, Disney and Marvel, wreck their employees. Like, with the whatchamacallit, like the deadlines that they give them, as well as the workloads that they expect everyone to take care of. And many different Marvel people have talked about it, also saying how, like, we get a year to work on this thing, and within that you get like a week to work on this scene, and because of that crunch time, it doesn't look as good. And it's not like, we see crunch in video games a lot of the time, and it's not the same, because with video games, like, while crunch is terrible, games could technically get put out in a garbage state. Games could get put out where they literally are unplayable, and then the same day have a day one patch that fixes a bunch of bugs, right? Because the whatever programmers were able to fix things in the back end, so that when you put your game in the system, it'll be fixed the first time you play it. As long as you have an internet connection and all that. Movies are not like that. Movies will get shipped on the dates. Yeah, they can get pushed back. There could be reshoots, but once the film is out there, it's out there. So it's rough.
And that's something I like about video games too, because like there's a little leeway. Two things, like during the pandemic, made mad money because people stayed in, and when they announce games, they don't necessarily have to announce the release date. Yeah. They can hold that close to their chest until it's like, okay, I think we're getting to a deadline where we're not forcing people to like have crunch times, and then it's like, okay, I think we're in a good place. Let's announce the release date, and they can delay them because that doesn't hurt the game at all. When it comes to the movie, that can hurt the movie. Like, for example, Flash, that's been delayed so many times. Justice League has been delayed so many times, and look what came out from that. So they don't have that same luxury.
Yeah, and it's just to kind of put a bow on this thing. It's the time of these studios, whether that be video games or movies. I mean, we're seeing it pretty heavily in like the movie entertainment, like TV and movie studios right now, just because of the strikes. Like, their time of like putting everyone under their thumb is coming to an end. It's day by day, there's more support given to these strikes from all corners of the entertainment industry. It's important that creators, actors, writers, like all these people in the chain get more of what they're owed rather than giving, millions and billions of dollars to the people at the top. Let's funnel that through the system where you could still be getting millions of dollars, but everyone else gets a piece of the pie also.
Yeah, it does work. We've seen it work in other. If you look at small tech companies, it works.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
works. So it's like there's no way they're not going to make money.
So moving on to something else that works, Wayne Brady today, with an exclusive interview through People, has come out as pansexual. Now, I feel like this is more of like a celebrity gossip kind of topic. We typically don't cover these, but I felt like this one was pretty important. Wayne Brady,
Agreed.
I think a household name, loved and adored by millions, if not billions of people. And he's been like that for decades at this point. And he finally came out as pansexual. For all those that don't know, it means that he's attracted to people regardless of their sex or gender. He, in his words, he said that he's bisexual with an open mind. So it's just nice to see someone kind of embracing their truth and somebody that's in such a, he's in the public eye. He's not like a random, like Wayne Brady, like is known by, various generations across various projects that he's done.
Oh yeah.
To this day. He's still very much a working actor and comedian. Like, he's very out there. On top
What's
of,
the
he
popular?
hosts a game show too.
Oh yeah. There's Let's Make a Deal. I know
Let's
that
Make a
one.
Deal.
The
Yep.
popular one, something about improv. It's like whose
Oh,
line
whose
is
line
it?
is it anyway?
Like two versions of that. There was an old one which I remember seeing him on when I was
Yeah.
a kid. It was like the 90s.
It was in the 90s.
It came back again
Mhm.
maybe a couple years ago. Like he's still doing his thing. And then for those who grew up with How I Met Your Mother, he was Neil
Barney's
Patrick
brother.
Harris's gay brother in the show, which he's it's. I'm happy that he feels that way. I'm happy that he's sharing this information. We don't hear a lot about pansexuals.
Yeah.
Like we know they exist. We know about the LGBTQ, but I think I know. I forget who I've heard of that is pansexual, but I think that's beautiful in its own way. Because if you don't look at the science of things, just sometimes the heart is the heart, and you got to kind of go with that.
Yeah, and it's.
And
I was gonna say, to your point, like, it's nice to see somebody coming forth, that someone who is a, quote unquote bigger celebrity, like, identifying as pansexual. It does bring more light and more, I guess, awareness to that portion of the LGBTQ plus community. So it's cool to see that. It's cool to just see someone embracing that and sharing their story, and hopefully, inspiring others to be okay with who they are, or to share their own story as well.
yeah, my just to like kind of end it too. Like I just hope it's not weaponized, and not his side, but media side. I hope it's not like a thing where, be it our country, where it's like, oh, it's an agenda. Whatever side says it, I'm just like, bro, just leave it. He's just expressing his truth. Let it go.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on into more TV and movie news. First one up, we have the studios in the headlines yet again, and we actually just spoke about them, but this is coming off of an article on Comic Book Resources. Also, the Paramount CEO, so the CEO of Paramount Studios, has come out and said that they will no longer be producing original animated movies, just IP. So, IP being intellectual property, they're only focusing on stuff they already own, and they are not focusing on bringing us original content.
Yeah, that honestly, that to me seems, if you're trying to save money, I think that works to a certain. Again, in my opinion, like the first thing that pops in my head is Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
We already know there's going to be a show after the movie.
Yep.
So definitely do what Disney did back in the day. Just develop your IP. Do what WB has done. Now, don't be evil like these companies, but just definitely do that, because you still give us original live content. But if this is specifically original animated,
Animated.
I can definitely see this working.
So
And then
the
maybe one day they just like they cheat a little bit. They do create something original, and then they're like, "There's no law saying that we can't, renege on the thing that we're saying because it's their studio. They can do whatever they want." But this being a focus, I'm down for it.
See, and it's weird because I feel like I'm on the other side. So
Okay.
while I'm always down for adaptations of stuff like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? Mutant Mayhem is coming out, and there's a
Word.
couple people that have been like not okay with it, but the majority they love it. So I'm always down with adaptations, especially if they're handled correctly. Like give me more of the stuff that I love. But on the other hand, typically studios have done a thing of like putting out another project based on an IP and making that like mega dough off of it, which allows them to then take a chance or chances on original content. Like if we think about it, right? Like you mentioned Disney, right? The Disney Renaissance in the 90s was a massive deal. All of that was original content. And it came at a point where Disney was kind of going low, right? When you look at Lion King, when you look at Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, um, I mean, even stuff like Pocahontas, even though Pocahontas kind of lost out, I think, against Lion King.
Yeah.
But those the movies of that generation, Mulan, we're getting a little towards the 2000s there, but Lilo and Stitch, all of these things were original. Those original content, they weren't
Yeah.
established IPs, and with that, that allowed them to do adaptations like all the different Disney shows that they had that spun off from the movie. Hercules, I think, had two shows. Lion King had Timon and Pumbaa. Um, Aladdin had a show that never spin off movies from Aladdin. It was stuff like that.
Yeah, I think and I hear what you're saying on that. The only difference is, oh, one of our fans says nice shirt. I'm assuming it's you or me.
I mean,
It
we're
could
the
be.
only two on screen, so if you're a Bucky's fan, hell yeah. But if you're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fans and an Ewok stan, go for it.
Yeah. Actually, I know this fan, and he saw me wear this shirt the other day, so I think he's trying to troll me right now. But anyway, I hear what you're saying, but the only difference is that Paramount, I want to say, is relatively younger than Disney because Disney had time to develop their IP and then go into this renaissance where Paramount has like, and this is a hard thing for me because now that you're saying that, I'm thinking when I think Paramount, I think of Nickelodeon, but even though it's owned by this, it like does Nickelodeon still have its own reigns within the company, kind of like how Marvel does within Disney. So I don't know the legality between
Well,
the
this
two.
is Paramount as a whole. So the Paramount CEO, so all the companies under the Paramount umbrella will be abiding by the CEO's kind of ruling. This is Brian Robbins, and also
Okay,
all of this information comes from a interview that he did with Variety. So
gotcha.
you have to remember, like, just this past year, Paramount had Dungeons and Dragons, Transformers, and Mission Impossible. So major properties, right?
Yeah,
Now, Dungeons and Dragons was kind of like a slow burn, right? It did pretty well when it comes to critical and audiences, but it wasn't. It
yeah,
didn't set the world on fire. It was just
yeah.
a good D&D property. Then Transformers, right? It was better than the previous entries, excluding Bumblebee, but again, it didn't set the world on fire. And it was also, I feel like this Transformers movie was made for Transformers fans. Like, it wasn't like an
There was
awesome
a
entry point for new people.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Although it didn't make it foreign to new fans, but it wasn't like, it was more so for people that grew up and like Transformers. Um,
Not
and they
Transformers.
underperformed at the box office.
Not
That was the thing,
Yeah, I
like
was gonna say
sales wise.
not Transformers fans as like the movie fans. You mean like Transformers as a whole, like the
Yeah,
franchise?
like the franchise. Like I'm talking
Part
about
of the crowd. Yeah.
going back to like Gen 1 was a G1 cartoons
Yes.
from the 80s, and then
Yes.
moving forward, because then you got like 90s 2000s with Beast Wars and all that. So you kind of have to, like, my wife Erica, we went to go see it and she liked it a lot. She also really liked it because of Anthony Ramos. But
Oh
then
yeah, for sure.
I took my dad, and he had such a better, like, seeing that movie with him was such a different experience because he's been a Transformers fan since the 80s, and he understood and recognized a lot of the different content, the different the cameos and stuff like that. So like it was more so for the lifelong Transformers fans. But yeah, you know,
Yeah.
it's like I get it. It could work, and I'm sure it will, because you know when you give people more of what they want, then you're not really going wrong. But
Yeah, I think I just to like not to take back what I said. I would say it works, but it shouldn't work long term.
okay,
Because I would like to see them do more. Like same thing, Sonic, like this Knuckles show. Like I see this working. Because if they again, I always wholeheartedly believe in the Star Wars world where they all characters live in this canon world, but they can go through any medium.
mm-hmm.
And the fact that James Gunn is doing that with the DCU property, I love it. But then at some point, it's gonna get old. Give it a couple years, it'll get old. It would be
Mm-hmm.
the new MCU where it's like we're getting this, not superheroes fatigue, but we're getting uh, a specific universe fatigue. Like I was talking to someone today about it. Like we're getting this fatigue where it's like, and because we keep getting this interconnected world where when growing up, especially before phase, like within phase one, I've always liked the idea of interconnectivity, but
Yeah.
specifically um, Tarantino's world, because they
Mm-hmm.
weren't like I didn't need to watch Reservoir Dogs to see Pulp Fiction, but they're both connected. Like I didn't have to. I love that's like in my stories, I love to have that interconnectivity, but it's not something where it's like I have to, like for example, for my story, I don't have to read Napoleon to read
Yeah.
the Alien Heroes. That doesn't make sense. Like, but they exist somehow. They just don't need to be in, like that's what I love. Easter eggs that
Yeah.
connect.
And yeah,
I don't
it's
need this whole comic book world. Like all the with
yeah,
DC
everything
and
happening at the same time across the same plane. Like
exactly.
with Tarantino's things, it's like they could be, it's like one character could be mentioned in another movie, or I think it was Kill Bill is a movie that a person in the Pulp Fiction universe could go see. There's something like that. There's one of his movies is like an actual movie that would play in a theater in another one of his films.
Okay, I didn't know
So
that. Okay.
yeah, so it's not like they don't all occupy the same world, and that
Yes.
also kind of talks to like he likes to recycle actors sometimes. So the same actor can play different characters because those characters literally do not occupy the same space. Like it could happen decades apart. Like I said, something could be a movie in it. Like there's different ways that he likes to kind of connect his stuff, but it is all connected.
Yeah. So like that's like my type of world. Like if
Mhm.
I ever were to build a franchise or some sort of world, that's how I would like it to be. I don't need it to be a universe in
I
a
agree.
sense, like the universe that people know now. But yeah, give I'm all for the original IP. I just hope it's not. I hope it's just short lived.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in the same mindset. I think you're right in terms of like it definitely would work short term, but after like I don't know 3-4 years of just getting adaptations of a bunch of stuff, like I'd be like, all right, man, like give me something fresh. But
Because animation is coming up, and not coming up. It is, but it's taking more presence in the Oscar world. Like
oh yeah,
animation is the thing, so it's like we're gonna need original animation, and if you want to compete with other studios, definitely gotta make original stuff.
yeah, for sure. But talking about original stuff, next topic
Mhm.
here is a movie that I don't know, maybe I'll go see, but like I doubt it. I mean, I'm
Okay,
definitely not gonna see it in the theaters, but maybe I'll see it when it comes to streaming.
when you
Um,
watch it during the daytime.
yeah, during the
Yeah.
daytime, low volume, all the lights on. Um, A24's latest horror movie, Talk to Me, came out what 2 weeks ago, July 28th, right? Whatever day that was, came out July 28th, and it's been at the top of
That
the
was when
box
we were
office. What?
we were in Comic Con
Oh
that
yeah, we
day.
were in Comic Con.
I
Yep.
just know that date.
So and it was it's been steady at the top. It's already got It got 14 million globally and 10 million in North America in its first weekend. And that was A24 second biggest opening weekend ever after Hereditary, and Hereditary was a massive
Oh,
thing for them. So
yeah.
right now, Talk to Me sits at 26 million globally, and you got to remember this is during the same release window as Barbie and Oppenheimer. So it's up there with two heavy hitters.
I
Barbie
think it's
just crossed $1 billion, so you know to see an quote unquote indie movie, because A24 it is bigger than it used to be, but an indie horror movie being able to kind of like stay in the ring with two heavyweights at the same time, it's a pretty cool thing to see.
yeah.
Now, what I think is mind boggling is that literally after 2 weeks, it got greenlit for a sequel, and they announced it via X, formerly known as Twitter, with a teaser image, which is like to me this is like they are moving at breakneck speed. Like,
And you know that's not like something new. I think the way I see it is still shocking, especially for the type of movie like that. I won't take away, but it's just like that tells me that I should see this movie because it is something to believe in.
mm,
Speaking of A24, you mentioned that in their quote unquote indie, but they're still big studio. But the thing is, they believe in creativity, and that's why I love them. I would love to. I'd rather work for them before I work for Disney or WB,
yeah.
and that's saying a lot. But that's besides the point. So you look at, and I remember this from when Ninja Turtles, the 2012 version came out. When
Hmm.
season two was coming out, they announced season three and four. Sorry, I think they announced season three and four because they purchased season three and four when season
Hmm.
two started, and it's like season two hasn't even dropped yet, and you're ordering season three and four. Like
Well, that was
that's
also
why. But you believe in the project.
that was like Rick and Morty. When Rick and Morty,
Oh
when they did season 3 or 4, then they bought
yeah,
like to season, I think 10 seasons or 8 seasons,
yeah,
and it was like, whoa, okay. And each season of that show takes almost 2 years to like
yeah.
animate and to come out. And now we had all those issues with Justin Roiland, so this season's even gonna take longer. So you're
Well, on
talking
top of the writer strike, so it's just yeah.
you're talking about you. I mean, they couldn't have predicted the writer's strike back then,
Oh,
but
for sure, for sure.
you're talking about a roadmap that's 10 years long, at least, for 4 seasons of an animated show. Which that's a pretty big commitment, especially something that is an Adult Swim original. Like, it's typically shows there, like, they do have longer lifespans because Adult Swim does have its own like catered to audience that they like to do stuff
Yeah.
for. But to see a show like that have such prominence there, it's
Oh yeah.
it's pretty
It's
huge.
and it's become part of the zeitgeist. It's not like
Oh yeah.
because like people, there are people that love Robot Chicken, but Robot Chicken doesn't have the same love. I could assume because I'm never really on Adult Swim like Rick and Morty. I remember when Rick and Morty came out, when it initially came out, I was like, oh, it's one of those Adult Swim shows. That was like my first mentality. But then you hear people talking about it, talking about it, talking about it, and it's like, okay, I'll check it out. And then it has that regular show type regular show type vibes, but for adults. So I'm like, oh, I'm definitely gonna stick with this. So,
Yeah, man.
but the idea of green lighting things too fast can also not look good. You got the Velma show on WB. Um, I think literally then, but the crazy thing about that one is they greenlit that before the show dropped. I think it was like
Yep.
a week before,
Yep.
and it didn't do so hot. And I'm like, look,
It did
you may
terrible.
believe in it. You may believe in it, but it's like something. Like I watched the first two episodes, I was like, I was digging it, but then there was too much of something that was happening, and I was like, I even watched the show. I think I watched the first two episodes and I
Yeah,
stopped it.
same.
So I was like, I don't care to watch this now. Uh, the Superman show, I'm digging it. I still need to see the latest episode. They haven't greenlit the second season for that, but I hear good things about it. But yeah,
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a double edged sword. It could be really good, and you could be capitalizing on something that could be a smash hit, or you can kind of shoot yourself in the foot. Like, see, they signed for season 2 of Velma, right? Now they have to come back with a vengeance for people to even
Yep.
care about that show because it did
That's what
so
Batman.
bad. Because it did so bad the first time. Originally the hook was, Velma, played by Mindy Kaling. She had a producer's credit, and I believe she did some writing too, but I could be wrong. But it was a minority Velma. She was gay. Like, there was themes that have been shown across decades for Velma that were finally coming to fruition with the superstardom of, maybe not superstardom, but with the
Notoriety.
popularity of Mindy Kaling. She's
Yeah.
someone that you could see bringing this project, bringing it around, so to speak. And then it hit, and it just like was trying too hard on all these different comedic things that they were trying to do, and it just did not pan out right at all. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, and then with this, like I was saying, Talk to Me is getting a sequel. The sequel is still called Talk to Me, but the two is literally now a letter two. So
Got it.
Talk to Me.
Talk twice.
Yeah, and not weird thing, but I guess it kind of like is a coincidence. A24 is one of the only studios that is actually granted like amnesty from the SAG strike going on right now. The writers and the SAG strike, they
Yeah.
are still allowed with certain projects to continue. And I wonder if, they were allowed to, like, if they got this greenlit from before, like before the movie dropped, and they were talking with the different unions, and they were like, hey, can we do this? Like, can we continue this thing?
Hopefully that's something to look into because honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was during because it's like I don't want to right, like quote unquote, right, like be all behind A24, like they're not the bad guys. Like I'm not saying that I don't know them like
Yeah.
personally, but out of the other companies, they seem to be doing something right. They really, if you believing in the crew and the creators behind it, I could assume that you care as a big company. You got companies like Boomhouse, also like I could assume you care. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, this might have been a project that they cleared with them, and they were like, hey, to keep people making money because this is a smaller studio, smaller actors, you know, smaller teams in general for these movies. Like, they were given the green light to finish up other projects, so maybe they capitalized that and were like, hey, just so that we don't go dark because we don't have as much money as the next thing, like, can we keep doing this? And maybe that's why they greenlit this one so fast. They were like, all right, let's just come on, let's do it, let's get it done. We'll get the second one out in 8 months. You know what I mean? Like, just something to kind of keep people working. So, last but not least on the TV and movie news, it has already been 10 years
It's
since
wild.
since the cinematic masterpiece changed the face of the world forever.
This was competing with Marvel movies.
Yes, it
I
was.
say that I say that facetiously.
And it got notoriety. So
It did.
the
That I
one,
was
the only Sharknado is celebrating its 10th year with a Barbie twist. So it got announced it's going to be heading to theaters for a limited engagement, and the poster that it has is the like main characters riding this like Barbie-esque pink car, um, holding a chainsaw out the top. Right, it's a convertible, so the top's down, and way in the distance is the Sharknado happening, and the font and everything is reminiscent of Barbie's poster and all that, but it was just funny to look at, funny to see, and like crazy to think that this movie is still, to this day, it
it,
is a part of the zeitgeist. Like, people talk about it. Like,
yeah.
it got like 8 sequels and like I think a couple spin-off things, but it was a sci-fi original movie that just like blew up because of how ridiculous it was. You had like actual actors cameoing in it in the various projects and all that. And it leaned into what it was and knew what it is, but it's just funny to see
I
10
mean,
years later.
I still haven't seen it. I just
No,
know
I haven't
about
seen it.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where I'm like, I know it's like I haven't seen like Centipede, but I know that was like a hit as well when it first came out. It's like a small movie.
I don't even know what
Centipede
that
was.
is.
You haven't heard of Centipede?
Centipede? No.
Sorry, Human Centipede.
Oh, Human Centipede. Yes, I know
Sorry,
Human Centipede.
yes, Human Centipede. I kept saying Centipede, but yeah, Human Centipede.
Yeah, yeah.
But I really like. I'm looking at the Hollywood Reporter, and because I did see it early, but I didn't really like pay attention to it because I was like, oh, it's another Barbie thing. But it's dope that it does. It catches your eye because it's like, oh, what about Barbie? But then you see it, and it's like it's Sharknado. But I love the tag. It's more sharks, more NATO.
It's
That
just
makes me laugh.
it's so funny, you know. Tara Reid, who you can, I guess, say she was in the lower point of her career when she did the first one. She's the one of the main characters. Yeah, back in 2013, she starred in this movie. Then you had all these other ones. It was Sharknado 2, the second one. That's literally what it's called. That's the subheading, the second one. Then you had Sharknado 3 you had Sharknado Feeding Frenzy, which is like a sub movie, I guess. Then Sharknado 3, Oh Hell No. That's the title. Sharknado The Fourth Awakens. Sharknado
Stop.
Yes, dude. Sharknado 5 Global Swarming. And then Sharknado 6 The Last Sharknado, It's About Time. Dude, like what?
This would make me. I don't think it's like it's enough to make me want to watch them. The titles alone.
The fourth,
And it's like I
the
know I'm
Fourth
going in there
Awakens
with
is
no
great.
expectations. That's a way to like you type that into like Siri or like your Alexa, and you're looking for Star Wars, but you get this. Like, what's this about? Is it about Star Wars too? No.
What I want to know is what's the deal with the in-between movie Feeding Frenzy. So 2 Sharknado movies came out that year. So in 2015, it was Sharknado Feeding Frenzy and then Sharknado 3, Oh Hell No. But like, is Feeding Frenzy like an in-between quel in between 2 and 3?
You're gonna have to watch and find out.
Dude, all these came out. Listen, the first one was 2013. Second one was 2014. Feeding Frenzy and Oh Hell No both came out in 2015. The Fourth Awakened 2016. Global Swarming 2017. Last Sharknado 2018. They did not stop filming these freaking movies for 5 years.
They just kept going and going and going. Energizing.
Crazy.
Just kept going. That's wild. Look, if I ever had the time and I'm rich as heck, I'll sit down and watch them just for the lulz.
I mean, it's one of those things where like if me and you were like easily like could get together or something like that's something like I would just be like, yo, let's pig out and watch Sharknado.
Yeah, because I think you did that in college for Saw. There was
I did that with Andrea. Yeah,
right. There was 6 at the time or 5. I don't remember. Man, there was a lot of them.
Yeah, okay. I mean the 10th one is coming out. It might have been 6 or 7. Maybe not a full
this
8.
is not counting the one that
Chris Rock did. No, that one is actually really good. I saw that when it came out on Netflix.
But it didn't do well, no.
I don't think so, but it was. I liked it a lot. It was good, and the ending was it was a fun little Saw twist at the end.
Okay.
But I enjoyed it.
I'll check it out when I can.
And it's not like it's not over the top like a lot of the other Saws are. This one's a little more thriller. It's a detective. Like noir,
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
But yeah, Sharknado is still Sharknadoing across the world, and we love to see it.
Getting more NATO,
more shark, more NATO. Moving away from the Sharknados of the world and heading into the video game sphere, we're gonna go into the Pokemon Presents that we just received today, I believe.
Yes,
it was earlier today. So Pokemon Presents, just for a quick background for anyone who doesn't know, it's kind of like a Nintendo Direct, Sony Showcase. These are video game showcases from the actual console companies that they kind of like show their first party stuff. For Pokemon Presents, it is literally just the Pokemon Company and their properties, what's coming out. And I'm going to go through, there's a list of a couple different things, and then we'll break them down. So, okay. So there's going to be a new animated series that's focused on the actual trading card game rather than like the Pokemon series that we're used to, called Pokemon Path to the Peak. Yeah, so I guess it'll be like Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
We got an official trailer for Detective Pikachu Returns, long-awaited sequel to the DS classic. We got a sneak peek at Pokemon Horizons, the series. It'll be coming soon. That's it. It only has coming soon, no release date. We do know that Ash's story is slated to wrap up in the beginning of September for the current Pokemon anime. We know that, it already happened in Japan, I believe, but it's not airing here until September. Pokemon Go is getting Paldea region monsters, so the starters from Scarlet and Violet and a couple other Pokemon that are native to the region will be coming to Pokemon Go starting next month, so starting in September. We're also getting Pokemon trading card game for Game Boy on Nintendo Switch Online, and Pokemon Stadium 2 for Nintendo 64 for the online plus expansion pack if you have that. That is available today, which is pretty sick.
Question for you. Was that something that we had as kids, or was that a Japan only thing? Because I don't remember.
No, so the first one, I think there was a second one that was Japan only, but the first one we had as kids, and I actually never got it. I missed this one when it came out, because it came out for the OG Game Boy, not for the Game Boy Color or anything like that. I mean, you could have played it on it, but it was for the original Game Boy.
It's probably one of those things because I didn't own a Game Boy, and I didn't own a Game Boy Color, so
reverse. It came out for Game Boy Color, not original Game Boy. Excuse me.
So I didn't have a Game Boy Color,
but
I would have been privy to that.
So apparently, it actually and I've seen a couple videos on the game itself. Very well fleshed out. The art in the game is pretty fun, and it has its own system. Like, you're not traveling from town to town really. It's like you have a deck and you're building the deck and fighting against different I guess gym leaders in its own way. It
looks dope. It looks very reminiscent of classic Pokemon games.
Yeah.
That came out before, I assume.
I don't think so. I believe it came out right after Gen 1.
Really? Wow. Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
It looks like something that will come out before, and then it's like that was a test. It looks like a testing ground before.
Yeah, because the main stuff is just the cards. Like, there's not a lot of meat to the game, but the card and the card playing is like the actual gameplay, and it's really robust, and they have a lot of cards, and a lot of the cards are actually like almost 1-to-1 pixel remakes of what the real life cards looked like. So it was pretty cool to see that art in there. But yeah, I believe it came out after. Hold on, I'm gonna double check really quick.
Do that. It's pretty dope because it's like, if I remember playing, I think it was Game Boy Color or Game Boy Advance. There was a Yu-Gi-Oh game which allowed you, and you had to have the actual card, and there was a way to tell if the Yu-Gi-Oh card was real.
Yeah.
There was a number on it that you can put. It would be dope if they had that same thing with that Pokemon game. And even to this day with the Switch, would you still be able to implement if you still have?
I feel like they
cards?
had something similar to that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, but you would have to have the OG cards. You can't use the new cards because it
it has to go back to the
101 Pokemans.
Yeah. So, okay, came out in Japan December 18th, 1998. It came out in North America April 10th, 2000. So it would have been after.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been after the original games. The original Kanto games. But yeah, I mean, I'm now happy because now I can go back into it and kind of play it and see what's up. I mean, I'm sure it's maybe a 5-hour game, but
Yeah,
It'll be cool to at least see
and
it.
I think it has multiplayer. I believe.
Oh, it definitely could. I don't know.
Yeah, it
Um,
should. I believe they mentioned that was like one of the things on there. Honestly, I can't wait to play these old games on the Switch. It's Zelda, like when they like, it's so great that these are out.
yeah,
I can just
and they're
play them and
free. Thank God. You know, with the
well, free
online.
with a subscription, but the
Yeah,
subscription is like
still.
nothing.
Yeah. And then yeah, again with the expansion pack, we're getting Pokemon Stadium 2 added in there. The first one was already there, but now we have two. Next thing here, Mew and Mewtwo are both coming to
Yeah.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which actually I was like, oh snap, do I
Awesome.
boot this game up again and go for it? Because fun fact, Mew is actually instantly free. You go into the mystery gift and you type in the code Get Your Mew. So GetYourMew. Get Your Mew, all one word, and you get Mew right then and there. It's a level 5 and it is a random Terra type. So if you're a Pokemon nerd, it is literally like at random you get that third typing. Everyone, is going to get a chance at getting something different.
Oh, and remind me, you said where do you type this in when you
So
boot up?
in the menu, when you boot up the game, it might also be in the pause menu. I don't think you have to go to little like.
That, that sounds like mystery box kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's just mystery gift. I think you could just do it straight from the pause menu. Um,
Okay.
you just enter mystery gift menu. I think it's right on. I think it's right in the pause menu. It also could be in that like random, like where the shop and uh, healing and all that stuff is, and you could connect to the internet from them. There's
Okay.
spots in the game where it's all three. It's the Poke Center, Pokemart, and the online thing. It might be a menu in there, but I think it's just from your regular menu. But you enter that code, you get Mew right then and there, and then Mewtwo is a Terra raid that will be going. It doesn't say when it's ending, but the Terra raid battle starts September 1st. So next month you'll be able to take down Mewtwo and then catch him.
Gotcha.
Pokemon Paldean Winds is a animated web series that's coming September 6th.
Nice.
Oh, and the last big one is, or the last piece, I guess. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's first DLC comes in September 13th. So they are paid DLCs. It is the Teal Mask is the first one, and they announced two new characters. They're two new legendaries. So it's a let me see if I could get it really quick. It was a spin on Raikou and the deer Pokemon from Sword and Shield. Those were the two new like Paradox, like past and future Pokemons.
That's is that what I've been seeing on as well that he looks weird?
Yes,
Is that just a glitch because of the way the game's
no,
been glitching? Oh god.
that's exactly what it looks like. So
I don't want it.
Raikou was one of the legendary lions from Gen
Gen 2.
3. Gen 3?
2.
3?
2. You're right.
Yeah, 3.
No,
It's
you're
3.
right.
Okay. Gen
Because it's
3.
Lugia,
Yeah, and Ho-Oh
was
were two. I was like, am I wrong? Am I wrong?
no,
It's
no, no.
from Gen
You're
3.
right.
He was the lightning one, and now he is. I think his code name is like Long Neck or something like that, and he's literally like a long neck dinosaur.
I hate it. That's probably what it is too. Speaking of that, when I was migrating my Pokemon over, I think he was one of them I couldn't migrate over because I was able to migrate other Pokemon as well.
Oh, they might.
And I
Yeah, they
believe
might
I have.
keep you
I
from
think
it.
I have Mew and Mewtwo too in there. I think I couldn't migrate them, but now if there's this little patch, I probably can move something over. But there's like Pokemon that I'm surprised that I can't move over. But then again, it just depends. But I guess.
So it's been, speaking about the two new ones, there's been a pretty visceral, um, like reaction to these guys. They do kind of suck. If I'm being honest, like I'm not a huge fan.
I saw a comparison of him and the long net from Horizon.
Yes, like, and I'm not a big I didn't love this last generation game. I also didn't love the all of the Paradox Pokemon. Some of them were kind of cool, but others were just like why would you do that? Like they did the same thing with Suicune, and it became that like weird dinosaur looking thing.
When was this?
Oh, it's one of the. It's one of
Oh,
the.
I didn't see that.
It was one of. They put him in after, but it's a thing.
Okay. Yeah, I did not see
Yeah,
that.
so he's basically. Yeah, it's Raiku's Paradox form. Um. Oh no, you were right. He's from. They're from Gold and Silver. I guess I just. I guess I think
Well,
of it
no,
as Gen 3 because of the movies. But
it's
it's
yeah,
from Gen 2.
because the second one, the second movie, I saw it that way too. Because Zapdos is the electric one.
Yeah.
Because I always line them up, and then I think Gen 3 is one of those ones with Celebi. That was the Hoenn region.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I forget because I know Zapdos, Articuno, and Moltres were part of 1/2, but then the popular ones were Lugia and Ho-Oh for Gen 2/1. It's a weird blend.
Yeah.
But we're
And then
both right. I don't care.
so they had that one which everyone's hating on, and then Iron Crown, which is the one based on the deer from Sword and Shield. And that one I'm like, it's just it's a robot deer. That's all it is. That's
That
it.
sounds about right.
It's okay. Like it's not egregious, but it's all right, I guess. And
It is.
you know, they also announced a couple, like they showed in the trailer a couple different forms of some other Pokemon also, so like other evolutions. So we'll see more as we get closer, and once the Teal Mask actually drops. Again, it is paid, it's not free DLC, but keep an eye out for that and all the news that I'm sure will be coming out leading up to that. Um, Sticking with video games here, something that was actually pretty cool that I feel like should be talked about because
Oh,
it was
for sure.
pretty badass. So, a blind Street Fighter 6 player won at this weekend's Evo tournament, I believe, Evolution Champion Series.
He won at because there were certain rank. He lost at some point, but he went really far because it's a ranking thing, right?
Yeah, he went. I think he went like he got up there.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, he
10.
got knocked out right before the grand finals.
Gotcha.
But he got all the way up there. He reached out of 7,000 players, he reached 2,049. So he was top 2,000.
And it was a total of 10,000 competitors, right?
Yeah, something like that. But absolutely
It,
freaking
it's
wild.
but it's we should be wild. He should get the accolades and the applause. And now I'm not going in the sense. I'm not trying to go into steer into the sense of like we shouldn't be,
Mhm.
but I love that the accessibility of games has come so far. Like talk whatever you want about consoles and whatever, but the fact that Sony and Microsoft really went hard on accessibility and it shows, especially with the controls. Like there's a separate control for these consoles.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's its own entity. And I don't know what system this was on. I'm assuming PlayStation.
Yeah,
Um,
PlayStation 5.
it says here, I'm sure you're getting your news here on Kotaku. He turned it on and just started playing. And because he's blind, I guess, I don't know how this would work, but again, I'm not blind, but there's audio cues and all
Mhm.
these things. It makes me think of like in movies where when a blind person goes to see a movie, they have like things inside just detailing the thing on screen. But the difference here is this is talk about hand-eye coordination, hand-ear coordination, like
Yeah,
that.
man.
That is some daredevil. I want to curse, but like I'm happy for this guy, and it's great. I keep thinking every time I read it, I just saw the blind swordsman. Like, bro,
It's insane. So like, so yes, there was 10,000 competitors at the entire, like, I guess let's call it a conference, the at Evo, right? It's a game tournament, but there was 10,000 altogether and 7,061 entrants for Street Fighter 6. He got all the way up to 2,000. So he took out, like, he lasted longer than 5,000, which is,
It's great.
it's
I don't know
bananas.
why. As you said 5,000, I was thinking, and this is just me nerding out because One Piece. That scene when he post time skip where he meets all the fishmen and he knocks half of them and it's
Hmm.
5,000 fishmen. Like that's me right now. Like he just said, let me use my observation hockey, knock out the freaking thing, and
The low
just
levels and then
the
get to the
low
big guys.
levels.
Yeah. So
Oh man.
so Blind Warrior Sven is his handle. He has a YouTube channel and everything. He lost his eyesight at the age of 6 to cancer, which he eventually beat. And then he's been a Twitch and YouTube streamer. He showed up at this tournament. He's been a Street Fighter player for years and years, and he's learned, like Jay said, he's learned to play the game through audio cues and with the accessibility controllers that he has. So his controller, I believe, has Braille on it, and it looked kind of like an augmented joystick controller. So literally like an arcade.
Also, he's not using the accessibility controller, but just accessibility setting. I'm looking at an image right now.
Yeah, so
So
he might have been using the actual controller, but like some people use the joystick and buttons one, like the arcade flat controller.
yeah,
But I saw him using with a braille. It's like a braille and certain keys. But
okay,
for the tournament, maybe he was actually using a regular controller.
gotcha. Now this is dope. I feel like I have to just read out this point because I read this like I was listening to a radio show. Like remember in Legend of Korra when they're doing the tournament, you got the
Hmm.
announcer just reading it. There's this like small snippet on Kotaku, and he goes, kicked off. Oh, Blind Warrior Sven with the black blindfold across his eyes kicked off the first round with a pretty clean victory, crossing up Eternal Pancake, which is the guy who's fighting, finishing him with E Honda's level 3 special move called the Final Bout. Round 2 went to Eternal Pancake, who played much safer this time around, punishing Blind Warrior Sven's whiffed attacks to get a victory on the board. At this point, the match is 1-1. So I'm just like reading this and I was like, bro, I could imagine seeing this. Like, I wish I'm definitely after this, like maybe tomorrow, I'm gonna watch this on YouTube. I have to find this and I have to see this. And I'm not gonna finish the rest of it because it's too cool to read. You guys read it or watch it. Definitely go check it out because that's just super impressive. There needs to be more people with accessibility to go, uh, not accessibility, with more. Well, the word is escaping me. People that use accessibility for games. There needs to be more of them in the gaming arena.
Yeah,
As
like in the
people.
tournament space.
Yes,
And this is a
and
great like
and
I was just gonna say
I think you're gonna say,
it's a great like success story. Like it's not like he's like yes, he's, quote unquote, he does have a handicap because of his blindness, but he still enjoys and plays games just like everyone else. All he does is toggle a setting and he plays and he can kick ass.
yeah. Um, and then I was also gonna say this is why e-streaming or esports is like dope.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, like this is it's like not saying it is the future. It is now. Like that is why during the pandemic you didn't have basketball games, you didn't have football games. Like he is to me. I said basketball. He is the Jeremy Lin of the Knicks. And yes, I used a sports reference for the third time on this show.
And it's an old sports reference. Like we're
Yeah, it
talking
is pretty old.
it's
This is
old.
2011.
Yeah, maybe 2011, 2010. Yeah, it's that's old. But it's there.
Yeah,
It's sports.
it's still sports. I'm taking it.
But yeah, this is cool because esports is just like regular sports. You're watching professionals excel at something that you could not. Like the normal sports fan, like they cannot play at that level, right? That's why they watch because it's cool, it's entertaining. Same thing with esports. You might play this thing, you might play it very well, you might love it, but there is that barrier of entry to get into the pro league. Now, seeing someone like this with a slight, difference in how they play the game is so cool to see because it's like it's truly a medium that's accessible to anyone. You just got to hashtag get good at whatever you're playing, and then you
Yes.
could get there, man. Like that's sick. He literally sat there like the blind swordsman with a black handkerchief, like a black blindfold over his eyes, and he
He
just
was
came
Daredevil.
in. Yeah, he came in and served it up, man. Like, it's sick. So, congratulations to Blind Warrior Sven. Everyone go check it out. Either read the article on Kotaku or go watch the fight, the actual like full on fight with all 3 rounds over on his YouTube. The Kotaku article also has it has the YouTube video linked right on the page. So if you want to go check it out through there. Finally, the last item of the day we have is for Red Dead Redemption. Now, people weren't too jazzed about it. So, here's what we got. Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption and Undead Nightmare, which we actually spoke about a couple weeks ago.
We did.
How we wanted to see a comeback of Undead Nightmare. They're getting a re-release. It's not a remake, not a remaster. They're getting a re-release on PlayStation 5 and Switch. Oh no, I'm sorry. PlayStation
4?
4.
I mean,
Oh
5.
no, 4 and
4.
5. 4 and 5. So, what sucks is it is a 30 FPS port. There's no support for 60 FPS. It's not a remake or a remaster. We aren't getting any type of remake, any type of whatchamacallit. There's no multiplayer aspects onto it. It's really just like
That's what sold the game. Well, not sold the game, made the game after the story.
it's
Like, it
just
was a great
like,
game, great story, but I think multiplayer was like, not that I think I know, but that was why people played it.
so it's just a thing. It's on PS5 already, but the re-release is the PS4 and Nintendo Switch version. But it's basically the original PS3 and Xbox 360 versions just repackaged. And the other thing that's really bothering
Question,
people,
and it's like, what if like I never played? Well, what if I own the game? Can I do backwards capability? Because that's the question.
nope,
That's, see, now you're stealing money from me.
you have
'Cause
to
I
buy
own
the
it,
game.
but
And
you're stealing from me.
yeah, what sucks is it's $50.
50?
$50. So it's
Okay.
literally a direct port of a 13-year-old game with 0 changes for $50.
They're bugging.
You know, and this is weird because Rockstar, like, you would have thought that they kind of learned their lesson from the GTA trilogy that they put out. It was a remake, but it did terrible. It didn't get the love that it needed. Rockstar had to apologize about it. And now they're doing a re-release, and this is just like nothing, right? What's weird, and I didn't even realize this to going through the article, is that the map for Red Dead Redemption 1
Yeah.
is already remade in 1080p and 60 FPS for Red Dead Redemption 2 online. The map is in the Red Dead Redemption 2 game. So all they have to do is reuse that asset and bring it over. And they didn't do that.
Wow. Wow. That's fun.
Like, it's weird. It's a really weird thing, and I don't know. You would just think
Is
that
it weird, or is it, I think it's expected. See, like this is Hollywood moves to me. Like, that's just like, come on. Like, look, Rockstar does their thing. We're still waiting for the next game. Was it, do they need that much money to get this game done?
And that's the weird thing. Like, you think of Rockstar, and for decades at this point, they've been synonymous with quality.
Yeah.
The last 2 projects that they're putting out is anything but that. You know, the GTA trilogy master remaster um, was such a massive disappointment for so many fans of the franchise. Like, people were waiting for that and they were excited by it, and then Rockstar dropped the ball and they apologized. Like, they had to make a statement on it and all that. Now for Red Dead Redemption 1, what people have been clamoring for years is an update to it. We wanted Undead Nightmare again, and then that's it.
Yeah. At this point, I guess it's just a waiting game because that's very annoying.
Yeah, man, it's upsetting to see something like that. Um, like, you kind of realize, like, the Switch version is, it's gonna always come, like, it's always gonna be a little less polished than the rest of them. But this is just like we shouldn't be getting Xbox 360 and PS3 versions of games anymore. Like,
Or if anything, not for $50.
no, hell no. Like, digital store
Not
release
for
or whatever, fine, I get it. Like, sure. But $50? $50? That's insane. We paid that much when it came out. Like,
And this was the problem. And did you mention Last of Us?
no, I did not.
They that was a problem with The Last of Us when it was the remaster of the OG game for the
Mhm.
PS5 for I believe $60,
Yeah.
or maybe it was the full 70. Why am I gonna pay that much for a game that I've already played and beat for just upgraded looks? Granted, yes, it looks great, but I shouldn't pay 70. At most
That's $40 at most.
$40. Yeah. I shouldn't be paying any more than that. I shouldn't even be paying taxes on that. Just give me 40 flat. I don't want no New York State tax, but like give me that for 40 flat.
But it's true, like, it's like a slap in the face to the fans, right? You're waiting for it, and then finally getting all this news, and like, what are you paying for? Like right now you can get the digital version on Xbox. Why wouldn't you just get that? Like, why, as a PlayStation and Switch owner, why am I paying $50 for this? Like,
And then this what sucks because you know what it is too? It gets people like, for example, if I had the time, let's say I make, Jay-Z money, right? I can go back because I have the time. I can go pop in my PS3 or 360 and play it because I have it. Now, for people like us who don't really have a lot of time, we don't have the luxury to pop in our old consoles. I'm gonna have to buy the game. This is like, I would have to buy the game just to replay that feeling again. Like, I remember I bought when I had my PS4 connected, when this was just PS4, I bought GTA 5 thinking I was gonna play again. I popped it in, installed it, didn't play it, and I spent money on it. I spent the full 60, and it's like, why did I do that? Because I played the game, I beat it on the 360. Why did I get it again? I don't know.
see, but that's a
I
game.
probably was gonna play online.
That's
so.
a game, like, I almost understand, because when the PS4 version came out, there was updated stuff with it. Like, there was that whole, like, first person view, there was updated graphics, like, things had, like, they up-resed it or whatever. They had
True, I guess,
added, like,
and
what's it
it did
called?
come out
Quality
at the
of
end.
life. Yeah. They
Yeah,
added
it did come out of the 360 PS3, so
Yeah.
I understand that. But yes, being it, let's say, non PS5, you tell me, I'm like, then that doesn't make sense. That's 2 generations away.
Yeah, and people bought it on, PlayStation 3, 360, again on PS4, Xbox X1, whatever the hell.
Xbox One,
And
yes.
then now
The Series X, the PS5.
yeah, that thing. Yeah. Like, there are these 3 different versions, and they are vastly different from each other, and the multiplayer landscape is ridiculous with GTA 5. But yeah, this is just, to me, this is, for whatever reason, a random cash grab. They don't strike me as someone who needs it. It's Rockstar. But they're losing, in my eyes at least, I'm losing some, like, good faith. Like, it's not Like, I'm still clamoring for GTA 6. I want to know about that. Like, I'm probably going to buy that. But, like, these little things that are happening in the meantime are,
It's
like,
Hollywood,
not
dude.
favorable, you know?
I don't.
Yeah. It's leaving a bad taste in my mouth. But with that, we're done with the docket. But we have a new thing that we're going to try on for you guys.
We're gonna try some things.
So, Jay, you slap it down for all the listeners.
So we did tell you guys that we're gonna be, doing Bill the Nye Science Guy thing. We're gonna teach people stuff. We haven't really done that. We did that in our After Dark stuff. We want to do something called a word of the day. All right. So I got you guys right now. Okay, so we talked about our favorite guy, Wayne Brady, being a pansexual. So we wanted to tie that back in with this word of the day. So, and this is why the English language is wild. It's the hardest language in the world. Yet everyone can, say some syllables from it. So there's a word called ikigai, and I'll spell it for you, or I'll say the syllables ikigai. So ikigai, but iki. Basically, one's reason for being, which in principle is the convergence of one's personal passions, beliefs, values, and vocation. I'm gonna read it again. One's reason for being, which in principle is the convergence of one's personal passions, beliefs, values, and vocation. I'm not gonna use it in a sentence, but take it in. It's a Japanese word.
Okay, I was just gonna be like, "Yo, is that really an English word?" And I was like,
It
"That
is a
sounds
it's a
amazing."
it's like rendezvous. It's an
Yeah,
English
it's
word, but it's
the
French.
country of origin is different, but it is the Americanization of the word, I guess. But
It is the gaijin of words.
gaijin, um, I dig that a lot, and I think it does kind of tie back to what we were talking about earlier. It's your reason for being, the core. Say it again.
The one's reason for being, which in principle is a convergence of one's personal passions, beliefs, values, and vocation.
So it's who you are at your core. So, like we said, with Wayne Brady coming out and expressing who he is and, living his truth, awesome. Everybody, it's hard. It's not always an easy thing, but find your find your ikigai and figure out what it is and then live it, man. Live the 100% you that you are.
Yeah, you used that correctly too. I forgot to say it is a noun. So there we go.
Find your ikigai, everyone. So now
All
we're
right.
gonna move on to the weekly wrap. So Jay, what have you been watching, reading, or playing?
All right. So watching. So I mentioned earlier, I'm watching the Superman, My Adventures with Superman. So far, so good. I thought it was gonna be more like adult, but I guess that might happen later because it is
Mm-hmm.
on Adult Swim. But I think the gimmick of the show is just the anime aspect of it. So it has a very Teen Titans, a Legend of Korra, or Avatar. It has that feel, um, and I like to just say it first, or not say it first, say it so people don't come at me later. Anime is not uh, a culture thing; it's a genre that originated from Japan. So anime can be in America, and like Avatar may not be considered Japanese anime, but it is still considered anime. So for DC's My Adventure with Superman, it even though it is a DC United States property, it is a anime. But yeah, I'm checking that out. So far, I dig it. I love the slapsticky humor of Avatar. So like, it does work here because so this version, if you don't know, it's Clark Kent. It's like him in his young days, but it's like getting into the Daily Planet. So he's an intern. So him, Lois, and wow, why am I forgetting the photographer's name? Jimmy Olsen. They're all young interns. Jimmy Olsen and Clark Kent are roommates, so they get into the Daily Bugle, and they meet Lois Lane, she herself is an intern, but she's like been there longer. She's just trying to be the best journalist that she can be, and she's trying to find out who Superman is. Um, I think it's cool. I think you might like it. But I would say wait till the season's done so you can just binge it. They're all like half-hour episodes, so it's pretty dope. What else am I watching? So I finally, me and the missus. So I kind of put my missus on Warrior for a gory show. Not gory, for a violent show. Surprisingly, she's sticking with it. She doesn't do well with violence, especially gory violence. Um, she's sticking with it. It's one of my favorite shows since Cinemax. Um, I rewatched season 1 and 2 while it's her first time watching it. We finally got to season 3, and I know nothing about season 3. But what I dig about it is the upgraded quality, because season 3 is part of Max's WB Discovery's Max's show. It's their HBO original, and I'm stoked. So anyone that wants a new show, definitely check it out. It's from the writings of Bruce Lee. It's about a character who comes to the San Francisco and he is trying to find his sister and do his thing. And I don't want to say any more than that because me saying it doesn't do it justice. Just check out the trailer at most and then go watch it. If you love kung fu, you love martial arts, that's how I learned how to fight. I watch martial arts movies. That's how it works.
You absorb it through the TV.
Yeah, I absorb it, and then I just eat a Limitless pill, and that's it.
Sounds like you ever see the movie, was it Bulletproof Monk, where like the guy works in the movie theater, and then he like his favorite thing is kung fu movies, and he watches them.
I have to see this now. I have to see this.
So it's the main guy is Stifler from American Pie, Sean William Scott.
Yeah.
And his whole thing is he works in a down and out movie theater, and he learns kung fu through watching like endless days because he works the projector. He works the projector, so he just spends his time watching kung fu movies. So he starts learning. He makes like a little dummy. And he starts learning and like practicing like moves and stuff. And then a monk who is Chow Yun Fat comes and like he's in the middle of stuff.
I remember this. Okay, I remember it vaguely. I know those two actors, so I can see it in my mind.
It's fun.
I definitely want to check it out. But that also reminds me, if you ever seen Old Boy, I mean the classic, not the one that was remade. Oh, it's similar in a sense. Good. Not to get into the story of it because it's very dark and heavy it's a Korean movie, so they can go there. The character is locked up, and he learns how to fight by watching movies as well. He's locked up for years, so he has his time to like train. But anyway, definitely check out Warrior. Over the weekend, watched Ninja Turtles because it had to happen. All I'm gonna say, fire, fire, fire. One thing, not really a spoiler. They're from the Bronx, which is dope because they like say it. There's a because in the canon, in the zeitgeist of the TMNT world, they're like in Manhattan.
Yeah,
they do a lot of travels to Brooklyn because they always do the Brooklyn Bridge or something. But I think this time they're, I want to say South Bronx.
Dude, that's awesome.
And the only reason they don't say it specifically, it's just because look, in the comics we know like the current run, and we know they're like no matter what iteration, they're black. They're all black.
Yeah, always.
But in the comics, the current run, they turned human. This is not the Power Rangers run. That's a different story. The current canon run, they turn human, and all the characters are black. I think Michelangelo is white, but he's like a
no. They're all black. Mikey's black.
They're all black. Okay. Yeah, they're all black, and they do their thing. There was like a racist nerds out there saying that's wild, blah blah, this and that, but they're turtles.
They were always black.
So, and look, in the 2012 version, and I'm not gonna say the word, but when they say "my ninja," like, come on, it was there. Anyways, the movie was great, dude. Like, there was this one scene you're gonna cackle. Like, I think you're not gonna stop laughing. Like, they use the idioms and the jargon of like today's generation, but because we can kind of use it, we say it facetiously, like the "we outside," but because in the movie they're kids, they're teenagers, but they're young teenagers, so they're not grown teenagers. So this is the aspect that we don't really see a lot, is them being young. Um, in the movie, just like in the 2012 version, yeah, like in 2012, they've never been outside, so it starts out the
Mhm.
same way. And I love the way when they introduce, like they start fighting. It's very fresh because they don't do this often. I think the only one to do this is the 2012 version, and this one to do it. What I love, Jackie Chan, perfect casting. Like it's wild that they've never casted him for
For Splinter.
Master Splinter, but for this version, it works. I remember my beef with the Jerry curls. It's just a flashback,
Hmm.
so but it works because it's like it just animation does a good job, and the way Splinter fights is how Jackie Chan fights in real life in all his
Oh,
movies,
sick.
so it works. So like there's in the current present, like there's a point where he like does a flip and then he has to, like crack his back. That's very
Hmm.
Jackie Chan. So I don't want to get too into it. It works. It works. It works. I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna let that simmer. See it soon.
I have
See it
to.
soon.
I've been
Because we
slacking on
gotta
going
do
to
a
the
thing on it.
movies. Yeah, we
We
have to.
gotta do a thing on it. Like that's one of those movies we gotta do. What else? What else? What else? Reading. I can talk about One Piece, but I don't want to get into spoiler territory. Great episode. It was an introduction to the major event, and chapter, which unfortunately chapter came out. There's a break next week. Next week, upsetting. I hate when there's a break, but it was a dope chapter for those
Well,
who love One Piece.
this past weekend, it was the big thing, right? It was Gear 5th, right?
For the anime, but I'm not like getting
Yeah.
into that.
But
But I
another
yeah.
question I wanted to ask really quickly, and only you're going to be able to tell me this. I
Oh,
don't
because you're past zone now, so
I
that's
don't
good.
I don't trust the interwebs. So, Gear 5th, didn't that happen like a while ago? Because I've been seeing animations of it for at least a couple months,
People have done their own animation.
but it wasn't like we haven't seen in the actual main
after the
line.
manga after the manga came out with and
Yeah.
that like I've been talking to Denny also. For those who don't know, Denny's our mutual friend. Me and Denny are up to date, so we were talking about like we still get chills when it first dropped as a chapter. I was like, wow, this is really
Because
good.
I saw the
Now,
manga chapter when it came out. Like I
mhm,
don't know the story behind it, but I saw images of
mhm.
Gear 5th, and I was like,
Yeah,
oh, this looks pretty cool.
it's all fan made animations. Like people have been doing their own
Mm,
stuff.
okay, okay.
Now that it's officially out, with a bunch of animators have been Jujutsu Kaisen animators, like head directors have been because Gear Fifth is not just this past weekend. It's going forward for the next couple episodes. There was a rumor that it was supposed to be an hour, but that
Hmm.
hasn't happened. We were supposed to have a new opening, but that didn't happen. But the ending finally showed up, which is why I mentioned to you a couple. The opening was great. The opening is basically the end of the arc, which is weird, but
Mm.
I don't. That's neither here nor there. But it looks crisp. Um,
And after you mentioned the ending, now since
yeah,
I'm back on the ship
yeah.
making
There's
my
no.
way through,
It's
I'm
just
realizing I'm like, oh my god, there's really no endings, and it's
yeah.
been
It's
like
just
this forever.
for years, bro. I was a teenager. It's been that long. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, it was Jujutsu Kaisen and like a lot of like famous, like very well fluidity, fluid animation.
Hmm.
Uh, people working on this. WB was never working on it. That was just a rumor. Um, and I won't. You'll understand why when you finally catch up to that, because it's
Hmm.
supposed to be very. They use like those toony sound effects.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was a great episode. It made me smile when I watched it. Same feeling I had when I first read it, so it was really good. Um,
Do we get to see him actually like doing stuff, or was it just a
it's
transformation?
it's like because just like the manga, they don't want to do show anymore. A lot of people would agree that they hated the fact they reused imagery. Like
Mm.
there's a point where he transforms and he's just jumping in place. They reuse the same image for again. It's just to fill up the episode. But then,
Yeah.
in my opinion, they should have just put some flashbacks. If
Mm.
you're gonna do that, that kind of like coincide with it. Um, and then if that was the case, then they should have done that hour episode, which that's neither here nor there. And then someone just informed me that the episode, the anime is 6 months behind the manga, so that's very close. So I can, and the fact that they've been doing breaks, especially with the 1 month break that Oda did, um, it's getting close. But I think because anime is not going to stop, it's just churning out every week, while manga can just like take random breaks, which it is going on a break again. But I'm hyped for this weekend because I stayed up for it too. Like, so when it comes out it comes out in Japan on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, it's midnight for us. So if
Gotcha.
you stay up Saturday night, you catch it. So like I think it was like 11:30 it comes out, and at like 12:59 went on Crunchyroll and it was there. But yeah, it was dope. I loved it. I'm trying to think of anything else that I saw. Still on my Seinfeld stuff. Haven't really been reading besides, like I said, the manga chapter of One Piece. Playing, dude. I have not turned on my PS5 since I came back from Comic Con. I was gonna play today, but I just had too much stuff to do today. But yeah, I think that my highlight was TMNT. Like it was just that good. Definitely gonna see it again. Friday.
Yeah. So like for me, it's been the same. Like I really haven't had the time to do a lot of stuff. Like last week, coming off of the con over the weekend, we did our episode on Tuesday, but then the rest of the week I was just kind of like swamped with work and stuff. Then this past weekend I was actually away again. I went with my parents, my sister, and Erica. We all went to like a beach house for the weekend, and we didn't get back till Sunday evening. So I didn't have any free, quote unquote free time during that. And then this week it's also been the same thing. So for me, watching like last week and this week, I've been back on One Piece, trying to like go through them.
I was so hyped that you text me like, "Yo, what's your Crunchyroll password?" I was like, "No, he's gonna get back on, finally catch up." But
so I have officially, I can announce now in front of everyone, I've officially cracked episode 800. I am now in the 800s. A feat I once thought impossible has now been slayed before my eyes.
And the crazy thing is that when we had the time in college, you could have done it one summer.
Well, I could have, yeah. I mean, I guess, yeah.
Because I think we were in the 500s, and was like insurmountable. Like you're like, I'm never gonna do 500.
I think we were close to 500 because Denny, the mutual friend we were just talking about, he did it one summer, and he just
read it,
and he caught all the way up in like a 2 or 3 month time span. So
Yeah.
it was doable. It was definitely more doable than it is now, but I'm making my way downtown, walking fast, faces past, and I'm homebound. So love it, obviously. Like you mentioned before, I'm past the Zoe arc. I'm now
Talk about the thing that you were flabbergasted. It's not spoiler at this point because people should know. So
about
if you're a One Piece fan,
Big
you
Mom
texted me
or about
the Big Mom foreshadow.
dude. Okay, so I'm now there. I get what's the name of it? It's not the Wano arc, right? Because this is
Whole cake.
Whole Cake.
It's supposed to be Disney-esque.
Yeah, it's very like Alice in
Disney-
Wonderland on
Disney, Alice in Wonderland, and something else.
it's like scary Alice in Wonderland. So,
Yeah.
and there's even homages to it, like the forest that comes alive, the different characters that are like anthropomorphic. There's even a white rabbit. Like there's a lot of stuff. Like there's a lot of parallels to Alice in Wonderland, and you can even see Big Mom as the Queen of Hearts. Like it's like a lot of the same stuff. But oh my goodness, the foreshadowing that Oda has is unmatched. It's godly.
You just forget it. Like that's something I always remembered. But if he does that with a lot of things,
Like
and
it is
just forget about it.
for the One Piece fans, it's Gear 10 level foreshadowing. It is absolutely ridiculous. So
What you said, the Oppenheimer of stories.
I said I'll bring up the text message because it blew my mind so like so completely that I needed
You had to
I
you had to
texted Jay.
collect you had to collect your brain matter
So
and
I
just
said
like
yes. I said I said that he was a Oppenheimer, Einstein, Hawking, deGrasse Tyson, Nye ass level literary genius. So what I'm talking about for everyone who's watching One Piece, I passed the Wano arc. I'm on Whole Cake, and we find out that a big-headed guy. We thought he
sorry,
was
before
giant,
we
but he's
get
not.
you past the Zoe arc.
Yes, I passed the Zo arc. So his name is Pound. He was in this what is it? The Seducing Forest, where Nami, Luffy, Chopper, and their friend Carrot, they've been kind of like running around in circles, battling bad guys, all that crap. So we find out that one of the characters that they meet there, named Pound, is one of Big Mom's ex-husbands. He's also the father to a character named Lola. Lola was in the Thriller Bark arc freaking like 500 episodes ago.
I was in like 8th grade probably.
Dude, she first showed up as a half like warthog.
Yeah, she was the zombie. She was the zombie, Hololo's zombie shadow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she comes in contact with Nami. They actually form a little bit of a friendship and all that. Later on, in her human form, meets Nami again. Thanks her and all this stuff. And this is, I think that's still pre-time skip.
Yes,
No,
that is pre-time skip.
that is pre-time skip, right? Okay, so yeah,
Because this is
pre-time
before they get separated. Yeah.
pre-time skip gives Nami a Weaver card and is like, "Hey, you might need this. This is for my mom." And this is before we even really knew what Weaver cards were.
And yeah, and then she was like, "Oh, you can use this to find my mom."
Yeah. And she was like, "Oh, a
because
piece of
help
paper?"
she can help you out.
Yeah. And then finally in episode freaking 802 or whatever it is, Nami is like talking with this guy Pound, realizes the connection, realizes it's Lola, digs around to find the Weaver card, and it's like, "Oh, this thing?" And it's like, "This is Big Mom's." And it's like literally something from like straight up 400 episodes comes to a close. Like he finally fills in that gap of like why it mattered that Lola was there. Like it's so insane, and it's to the same level of like when we get to see Doflamingo in like episode 60 or whatever it was, like when they first showed him and Bartholomew.
Yeah, when they show all 7 warlords, and it's like he was one of the longest characters to not have a named ability, but we knew it had something to do with strings. It's
And
like
it was like so, and I mean even now, I mean I've already, in the show, in the anime, we've already seen Kaido a couple of times.
yeah.
And he does not really show up until like currently that Luffy's battling him now.
Oh, you mean like in the current anime? Yes. So
Yeah.
you first see him when his grandfather, after CP9, when he talks about all the 4 emperors.
Yes.
But the drawings, the and that's
You only
the thing.
saw
And
his
you'll
like
notice,
silhouette. It wasn't his.
so you'll know this, and you'll know this because you went through it. He loves doing silhouettes because
Mhm.
he's not beholden to the character design. That design does not look like the Kaido we know now. So it looks like some just fat random
Yeah.
thing, but just behind the silhouette. And people assume that like that was a transformation, but it's like no, that was just Oda being Oda. He loves drawing silhouettes because he loves to do it. Like
Mhm.
there's a point where, because you're in post time skip, there's a new admiral, but he does a silhouette. But when you finally see the design, that silhouette does not match
Mm.
the thing. So, but then that was the first time you encounter or see Kaido, and then later on, there's a point where Kaido falls from the sky, and that's the design that you know of
But yeah,
Kaido.
but I've been seeing like random like snippets of like his face and stuff, and it's his actual design. Like I recognize
That's
him.
the actual design.
Yeah, and it's
But
I mean
you've seen him already, I believe.
yeah, this is what I'm saying. So if I saw him in the 750s and Luffy is fighting him now in the 1000 whatever, like that's another one. Like in reality, we're talking about closing the loop on a story hole like 300 episodes down. Like it's insane to see how far like he's kind of set these things up, because when you think about it, when you're watching it like me and you're kind of blowing through, right, because it's all there, it's easy to forget that these things are years apart, like years.
Yeah, for someone like me, it's years apart.
Like,
Because I would be like, wow, like I remember this from episode like I and for someone who's watched the first 500 episodes many times, um, it I can be like, oh, that happened like episode 2. Like I
mm,
can say that, but then it's like after like, and I'm just spitballing, but after like 500, it's like a little muddy for me. But I still remember like things. Like I can tell you
mm.
where things are, but it's wild. Like
Yeah,
it's just crazy how things close up.
it's intense to see somebody set something up 5 years before it comes to fruition. Like that's a crazy ability. That's literally his whatever devil fruit he ate. Like it's for writing. Like it's like
And that's the
he
thing
has the
too.
foreshadow fruit power because it's ridiculous.
He's such a good writer too. Like not to just be on him for too much. But yes, I can do that forever. Um, he and I've said this many times, I believe, on the show. Like he writes, and he doesn't like when people prove his like have theories and are correct.
Yeah.
Because when he finds that out, he just pivots.
Hmm.
He always pivots in his storytelling, and the fact that it still works.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, you figured out this guy was a freaking cow. I'm gonna make him a pig, whatever. Like you'll just say, I'm like, yeah, and it doesn't make sense, but it works, and that's what I like about him.
So I've been back on the One Piece bandwagon, back on the One Piece ship. And beyond that, I mean, it's just been like my normal little stuff, watching here and there. I mean, Modern Family, Parks and Rec, Big Bang Theory. I think I mentioned last week. I'm still watching an episode or or two, one here and there. Um, that's pretty much it. Reading, definitely not. And then games, I've been in the same boat. Like I played a little like last week, like maybe an hour or two last week, and I was actually able to finally finish Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And you know, I actually hit up Jay right after that, and I was kind of like disappointed with the ending. Like, the game did so much to set up going to Tanalorr, to the final planet, this hidden planet, and like doing all these things. Then there's that big twist towards the end, and they did so much to set it up, and then you finally get there, and you spend all of 20 minutes there, and I was just kind of like, oh man, like I get it. The ending
The story,
is
I think the story was great, but I didn't spend time there. Like you built up Tanalorr. Like, look, what's the bad guy's name? Not the true bad guy. I don't want to spoil that. But
Dagon.
yeah, like that was such a red herring. Spoiler alert. But when we finally get there, it's such a red hair. It's such a letdown, because it's like, again, I wish there was another planet that we could have visited, or maybe spent more time on Tanalorr. Like maybe
Yeah.
someone followed us there. It was like a group of stormtroopers that obviously wouldn't make it back, because if the Empire found out about it, like I wish there was something we could have spent time there. We just get there and it was like 20 minutes.
Yeah, the ending was just so like flat. The last battle is cool and all. The story beats that led up to it. It wasn't the hardest fight in the game by far.
It wasn't. I still
Um,
think the hardest fight was the death.
Darth Vader
Yeah.
was way harder. I spent way more time.
Spoiler alert, also spoilers.
Yeah, I guess.
That's it, like.
I mean, there was a Darth
I-
Vader. There
now-
was a Darth Vader battle in the first game too.
Well, yeah, but not a lot of people know about this one.
I guess.
I was not expecting it. I kept thinking it was gonna happen, and then it finally happens. And my first thoughts were, and I think we can finally say this because we already beat it. I just wanted him to kill me because I just didn't want.
Yeah.
That's how scared of Vader I am in a non-fictional setting. I do not want to fight him. Like my initial reaction in the first game was turn around and run.
Which was
And
the
then if
right
you
thing
try
to do. Yeah.
Which is the right thing to do, because I've seen videos where you try to fight him, he just murks you. So in this time, you're not playing as the main character. Not to get into that spoilers. I was just like, just kill me now. Just end the life. And every time you do like a sequence, I'm like, let this be the last thing. I don't want to spend time fighting Vader.
Yeah, there's like
He has this is not my final mode, and then he just does it.
he
I'm
does it like
oh.
4 times, and then what's crazy, and this is kind of like that id Software game mechanic thing. It's not an id Software game, but Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, and what was the last one?
Sekiro.
No, well, that one too.
Elden Ring.
It's this thing where the battles take place across different like transitions, so the enemies will, as you proceed and as their life gets lower, they start getting new attacks, or like their attack combos elongate, so whatever like pattern you've gotten into, you now have to adjust according to what they're doing. And he does that like 4 times throughout the fight.
Yeah, like
he gets increasingly harder.
Like there's this thing where he uses the force to do like this compressed ball thing, and then it's like after the second or third move where he does it to demonstrate it, and then like depending on how many times you fight him, like there'll be one time he doesn't use it at all, and then when they're like, okay, I got this, and he just spams it. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. Now I can't get up, I can't dodge.
Yeah, his moveset changes. And there was one time where I didn't even stand a chance. I literally started the battle, and he immediately threw 3 of these like force objects at me, and I died. Yeah. Like there was nothing for me to do.
The only time you would have beaten him was when he like, I guess, played fair.
Yeah.
So like he did use those movesets, but it wasn't like it seemed natural to the story progression, where it's not like, okay, the game is just like doing this to you.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, they punished you for, like, you had to stay close combat with Vader, because he would then punish you if you were too far behind, if you were too far away from him.
Oh yeah, I never, for him and certain characters, unless you had to stay away, I always fought close combat unless it was the big, like, toughest one for me initially was the Rancor, or that long tongue thing. But then I remember telling you when we first started playing the game, I just forget my utility belt. I was like, oh wait, I can do this. Like instead of dodging, I was jumping. I'm like, no, I should be dodging, because dodging does help. Because with the added force mechanic, it does block. It does dodge certain attacks.
And with that game too, speaking of, there was a whole game mechanic that I just didn't use until the end, to like the last hour of the game. So
you find out, you feel like you're Exodia at that point.
Yeah, when you can stop time. I didn't use that until there's a point in the game where literally it forces you to do it because it progresses the story.
You mean the red one, or there's a red stop time where you're just berserker mode?
Yeah, that one. Oh,
you're talking about that.
The other one, like where you like stop it and hold and like, yeah, that I used a couple times, but the other one where you literally stop everything and you can just like go ham on stuff. I was like, damn, I wish I used this earlier, because I would have been able to mow down like hordes way easier.
Yeah, definitely can't use that on bosses, but
no, but I used it on. The last dragon boss. No, I used it on the very last one, and it helped me finish the fight.
Okay, I didn't use it on him because I know like whenever we did those like in-game things that you found, like you do your focus and you go into that realm. Like when
you can't do it in there.
No, you can. I've done it.
Can?
Unless I think I did the blue one. Now I just can't recall. But anyway, I know I used it. Well,
again, I didn't use it till the end, so
you probably can. But if you go back and play, you probably could do it.
But yeah. And the thing is, with the last boss fight, he's way faster than everyone else you fought. So you can still use it, and you have that like berserker mode kind of going for you, but he's still moving like pretty fast. But yeah, like
it's such a red herring, because it's just like you think this guy's the last Jedi or the survivor, but he is the survivor. Like this whole time, you're thinking like, oh, he's just a guy, and the trailer makes it seem like he's your best friend, and it kind of sucked when like I emotionally, like the whole story was emotional. Like I felt it. Like I felt sad at the end. I was like, damn. And then the daughter, I was like, But again, I just didn't spend too much time in this world. Like, and then I was telling my friend Carlos, I was just like, in the first game, I felt like I spent good time here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was like a learning curve or something, but like this one, it just felt too short to me. And
Yeah.
I wasn't playing every day. Like every time I went back to it, I was like, okay, I'm at the end of the game. But I was like,
Well,
that's it.
remember, I took a long break while I was playing, and I still feel like
But
it
yeah,
was super
exactly.
short.
See what I mean? It was very short. And I
Cause
did like the main planet too, where that was your hub. But that to me is the only open world space. And I remember I was
yeah.
telling him too, like I would have loved to go to Coruscant again. I know story wise it makes sense to why you shouldn't be there because Palpatine is there,
Mm-hmm.
but I would have done like a double back where I had to go there and do something like keep me engaged like with other filler stuff. I understand like there's the bounty stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but that just takes you to the same planets. Like if you took me to a new planet reserved to bounty stuff, then sure. When you look at the map, it seems so.
The map is so big on the hollow table, and you just go into 3 spots over and over again,
One of
and
them is a moon.
yeah, one of them is super small, and 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 like we keep saying, you built up the last world for so long, and for it to be so short, it kind of sucked, and there wasn't even a lot going on there. It was very much on rails. Like you went from point A to point B, and then you did the point B thing. Game ended. Like I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the I was very emotionally invested, but I think the first one wins out because the exploration was so much better. I think, like
I think yeah, it lacked on this one. Like
it
it had
wasn't.
everything. The first one it was just smaller.
Yeah, it wasn't as open world, but I was okay with it. Like in the first one, we also got like random cameos. Like I remember when I saw Chewbacca, like a young Chewbacca, I freaked out because there was no reason for him to be there. It's just like your paths crossed. Same thing with oh my gosh, Lawrence Fishburne's character.
You
No,
mean
not Lawrence Fish. Sam Whitaker.
Whitaker, Forrest Whitaker,
Forrest Whitaker. That guy.
yeah. Saul Guerrero.
Saw Gerrera. Yep. Saw Gerrera. Like when I saw him, and I was like, "Whoa, snap!" Like,
And that's another thing he's mentioned in this game. I thought
mm-hmm.
we would revisit that because he's still working for him.
And his character model in the data bank, if you look at his where he's mentioned and like what he has to do with the story, he's older.
But he looks closer to the Rogue One.
Yeah, it's just like he doesn't have the crazy hair, but he's older than what you saw him in the first game. So yeah, there's like assets that they didn't deliver on. Like
Yeah.
it would have been nice to at least maybe get like a hologram message from him or something small. But like I enjoyed the new characters that they brought in and like the people in the saloon and stuff. I loved their little like side stories. Getting to know them had benefits, and like going through like the talking, like if you went down their dialogue trees and stuff, like you got to unlock certain things, or you got more intel, or like you uncovered rumors and stuff. Like that was fun. And then I also enjoyed the side stuff, like getting the fish, doing the Hollow Tactics game, like that kind of stuff was cool. But yeah, just I missed the worlds. The first one had a bunch of worlds, and they all like served a purpose. Some of them were for you to like learn more, like get more in tune with the Force or learn different tactics, and then other ones introduce characters, and like there was just more worlds that you could get lost in. And although it wasn't a massive open world experience, like it was just different environments and stuff. This time around, it was so, I don't even know. It was just like when you first see Koba, it's like this massive desert planet, and it's like, okay, cool. And then you go to a moon that's a facility, and then it's like, all right, cool. And then you go to another world that's like the same thing as Koba, and you're like, all right, cool. Like the environments never really change too much. There is a lot to do in these games. It's just I wish I would have sacrificed that whole open world concept to get more planets, more missions on different planets.
Yeah, and then that's what I was telling my friend too. I was just like, they're probably saving that two different companies in a sense,
Yeah.
but still I know games are trying to be more canon. Outlaws is going to be the open world game that we want. I just, yeah, I agree. And now when the next game comes out, I feel like I'm just gonna get it digitally because I went hard to get this physically. I was like, I
Mm.
want this.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, beyond that, that's it for me. I haven't really done too much else. But I think we could go ahead and wrap it up now. As always, we are the Average Jays. You can follow us on Instagram at the Average Jays Podcast. We are on other stuff like TikTok, YouTube. It's always the Average Jays Podcast. Twitter, we've actually been kind of like taking a break from at the moment because now it is X. There's a lot of things going on there. So for our official updates on the show, what we're doing, when we're going live, all that stuff, you could catch us on Instagram at the Average Jays Podcast. You can always watch us here live on twitch.tv/The Average Jays every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, stick around for the After Dark segment, which is what we do typically every episode afterwards, where we break down a topic and we are live, unfiltered, unedited, and we get to talk with the chat and everything. But this week, remember, we are also going to reveal the winner for the raffle. So if you stick around, just I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll go back live and we'll do the After Dark. But as always, thank you guys for tuning in and listening. I'm Jay, Justin Ruiz.
And I'm Jay, Jeremy Francois.
And we'll catch you on the next one.
Actually, on the flippity flip.